Welcome back to another episode of barSILENCE. My name is Jameson, and this is Relic of Moira by Akira Yamaoka. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of barSILENCE. If you're new to the show, every episode of barSILENCE aims to explore the very best video game music from past and present every single month. You can also listen to the show live on 8beats Radio the first Tuesday of every month at 2 p.m. Eastern Time by going to 8beats.co. And the show is also available wherever you get your podcasts at too. So head over to barsilence.com where you can listen to past episodes, as well as clicking an easy link to subscribe on your favorite podcatcher. And for all of you regular listeners, I'm really glad you're back. This month, the show's joining a massive crossover video game music podcasting event with over 20 different shows called the Masters of VGM. Each participating show is going to be focusing their episodes this month on who we all think are the very best composers in the world of video game music. To learn more, you can head to the show notes for this episode or visit mastersofvgm.com to see a full list of all of the shows that are participating in this international event. You can also follow the Twitter account Masters of VGM for updates all month long, or join the conversation using a hashtag Masters of VGM. Just a couple weeks ago, I released part 1 featuring my first two selections as masters of their craft, Jun Chikuma and Yasunori Masuda. These two are absolute landmarks in the world of video game music, and have been making soundtracks across multiple generations of consoles, including games in the Bomberman series, Chrono series, Xeno series, and many more. Definitely take time to go back and listen to that show to hear some truly incredible music from both of these composers. In this episode, we're covering my final two selections of composers who I think are remarkable musicians whose outstanding work both defines and defies the barometer of what video game music is as an art form, and I think you're really going to enjoy them. Our first composer this episode is going to be Akira Yamaoka. He got his start in video game music with the 1991 release of Smart Ball for the Super Nintendo, and has gone on to compose for over 52 different games between 1991 and 2022. During an interview with Destructoid back in 2007, he said that when he was starting his career, he was specifically aiming to break that old-school video game music sound. And judging by his library of music, he's definitely carved out his own space within the world of game audio. His distinctive approach has touched nearly every aspect of the Silent Hill series, and he has credit for composition and sound direction on other games like Snatcher, Twin Bee Paradise 2, Speed King, Lollipop Chainsaw, Killer is Dead, and many more. We open today's show with the synthy and rhythmic Relic of Moira from the 2002 PlayStation 2 release of Contra Shattered Soldier, or Shin Contra as it's known in Japan. Having earlier been involved in Contra Hardcore for the Sega Genesis in 1994 as a co-composer, he returned to the series to compose once again, but this time brought his signature blend of ferocious hard rock, driving drums, and bassy electronic music to craft a soundtrack that perfectly fits the intensity of this futuristic Contra game. Underneath us now has been an atmospheric track from the game called S-Power. We're gonna let that one play out and go fast and heavy next with Hell Drive, and follow it with the chugging rock track called Fortress. So gear up and reload, and I'll be back after that. Wow, yes, that is Contra music. That level of intensity is unrivaled, and following that is not going to be very easy. But thankfully, Akira Yamaoka has a diverse portfolio of music. This next block of songs is going to get into some of that experimental music that he's actually best known for. We're going to start with the song A Man in the World from 2011, which is not really from a video game, but rather comes from Suda51's SDATCHER, or SDATCHER. It's a radio drama that serves as a prequel to the video game Snatcher. It was actually at Hideo Kojima's specific request that Yamaoka craft the sound for this experience. The song itself has a dreamy and cyberpunk atmosphere to it akin to Blade Runner, and uses a vocoder for a voiceover listing major cities across the world. It's actually pretty interesting. And then we're going to follow that song with Alloy Selector Spider Tsuchigumo from the 2012 side-scrolling shoot-'em-up Sine Mora, and I'll return after that for our final block of songs by Akira Yamaoka.
Tokyo, Moscow, Los Angeles.
In 1999, Yamaoka volunteered for the role as composer in Konami's first attempt at a survival horror game. The genre has an origin point very early in gaming, but following the 1992 release of Alone in the Dark, the genre started to evolve, especially with the 1996 release of Resident Evil. Yamaoka believed he was the only Konami employee capable of composing music compatible with the game's concept. During an interview with Fact magazine, he was quoted saying, "In 1999, everything was cliché. There were certain patterns, arrangements, and moods that everybody seemed to follow, and I wanted to change that." And that, he did. He carefully crafted an audio experience that would communicate the game's dark, cold, and rusty environments, and aimed to produce that truly groundbreaking experience that he had always wanted since his early days in Konami. When composing the music for the Silent Hill series as a whole, Yamaoka looked deeply into the experiences that the players were going to have in the game by working closely with the game's designers to build an emotionally expressive, beautifully dark, and stylistically rich atmosphere. Now, for this final block of songs by Akira Yamaoka, I've selected 5 tracks from the series that portray a melodic and intensely expressive sound that easily flows from song to song, despite each of them being released over different games over the course of 5 years. Underneath us now has been Clawfinger from Silent Hill 1, and then we're going to follow that with 2 songs from the 2001 release of Silent Hill 2, Heaven's Night, and Alone in Town. Following those will be End of Small Sanctuary and Maternal Heart from the 2003 release of Silent Hill 3. And to finish off the block, we'll hear Nightmarish Waltz from 2004's Silent Hill 4. Enjoy. For our next and final Master of VGM this month, we're going to be listening to the music of Shinji Hosoe, otherwise known as Mega-10, or sometimes sampling Masters Mega. He's probably known best for his work defining the Ridge Racer series, as well as his work in the first two Tekken games, Street Fighter EX series, and he also has credits in Bushido Blade, the Tetris arcade games, and many others. In fact, he has credits in over 83 games as a composer between 1987 and 2022. He got his start at Namco in 1985 as a game tester, and was creating music on the side as a hobby at the time. After sharing some of it with coworkers, he was brought in to compose for early Namco arcade games like Dragon Spirit, Final Lap, and Dirt Fox. What I think makes Shinji Hosoe notable is that he was definitely one of the earliest composers to marry the concept of modern dance with the genre of racing games. Previous to this, the music in racing games often featured a jazz fusion type of mix, or took on the Latin Caribbean influences made popular by Sega's 1986 racer, Outrun. It was his love of club music in the early 1990s that influenced his creation of soundtracks for games like Fighter and Attacker, Ridge Racer, and Cybersled. Now, for me personally, the music of the Ridge Racer series is an absolute must-listen. As a kid, I spent hours at the local arcade just to play Ridge Racer and try and beat the times that the other kids had set. Seeing my initials on the display felt like winning a championship every single time I went back. At heart, I am a die-hard Ridge Racer fan, and I will always have these soundtracks on every device I own. So for this first block of songs, we're going to play 2 tracks by Shinji Hosoe from that famous red arcade machine powered by Namco's System 22 hardware. First, we're going to listen to the track titled Ridge Racer, which defined the high-energy beats of the 1990s drift racing madness, and follow it with the electric track to go flat out to Rhythm Shift. Enjoy.
3, 2, 1, go! Okay, the final lap! Hang in there!
Shinji Hosoe isn't just known for his extremely danceable racing tracks, he actually has a really diverse portfolio over the last 35 years. His work ranges from the dark and epic soundtrack of Folklore that was released for the PlayStation 3, to the retro-infused soundtrack for 3D Dot Heroes that he co-composed with other members of his music production company, Supersweet. To help cover some of that variety, I've selected a few tracks that showcase the musical gifts of one of the most talented composers in Japan. Playing underneath us now is User Entry Come Again from the 1999 Squaresoft release of IS Internal Section. I'll let that one play out and we'll follow it with the absolutely rocking Wind Ride Kids from the arcade game Cybercycles. After that, we'll hear Dream Virus R from the 2003 release of Mega Man Network Transmission for the GameCube, and we'll finish the block with the 2006 release of Can't Come Back from Under Defeat for the Sega Dreamcast.
Das Starten der Kampfbeweisprobe für VK 11503 jetzt.
And that's it. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed part 2 of the Masters of VGM. If you want to interact with the show and tell me what you think about my selections, you can follow me on Twitter at barSILENCEVGM. That's where I post show updates and various information about the games that are featured in every episode. I hope you've been enjoying the show these past few months, and if you have, please consider telling your friends. And then, of course, leave a rating and review on Apple Music. I'd love to hear what you think. Don't forget, you can also go to barSILENCE.com to listen to past episodes if you've missed any. And of course, if you're feeling giving, you can always support barSILENCE on Patreon. But before I go, I have one final song to play. This track selection comes from Hammock, host of KVGM Radio. In his Masters of VGM episode, I discovered that we both share a love of Shinji Hosoe's music, so I asked him to help me pick a track to end this show. We're going to listen to the excellent Running Up Solo 2 from Dirt Fox for the arcade. Check out kvgmradio.com to listen to his show, or listen live every Sunday on 8 Beats Radio and treat yourself to an Arnold palm tree while you bask in the undeniably smooth jams of his weekly show from the shores of Aqua City. Enjoy, and I'll see you guys in a few weeks for the next episode.
Try again. You'll do it next time.